We're storytellers, and we are given many, many versions to choose from, and we have to decide which one, A, will help us tell the story the best, will behave well on set, will has the experience enough to do this. I mean, there's a lot of factors that go in, but the most important is which one helps tell the story, which one is going to interact with the character they're going to be acting opposite to really make something pop. And there's no better way to see it than in person, when possible, in a casting office. Also, if the casting director has not brought in anyone that's really close to what you need or on the money for what you need, then a conversation has to be had and you have to ask for another casting session. There has to be, everybody has to be on the same page.
I don't know if it was Hitchcock, I think so, who said casting is 80% of directing. And that's true down to the smallest one-line part. It's down to the nonverbal parts. It is so critical to tell the story, to have the right person in that part. And if you have to do it by electronic link, it's a pale second, it's a pale hundredth to actually getting to interact with an actor in an in-person casting session, because they're making their choices, which might be close to my choices or it might not. And also I need to assess, can they be directed? Can I give them an adjustment in casting, and can I see how they take that adjustment? And then there's this other part, which has nothing to do with casting, but rather my understanding of story. By the time you see 20 actors do a scene, you really understand the script so much better than you did before, because you've heard it and you've heard it and you've heard it right and you've heard it wrong and you've heard it somewhere in between. And that is such a benefit to every director. We would be stupid to give that up. And unfortunately, there's a lot of shows that shoot out of town now or away from where usually the writers and post-production have their office, and production is somewhere else entirely. And that leads to doing it by link. And if you can at all as a director, try to have it be in person.
It's a poor second. And so let's talk about practically how you get that opportunity to make sure you're in the room. First of all, the Directors Guild has certain rules and regulations about when and how that should happen, and if a company doesn't do that, how they might be penalized for not offering the director that opportunity. Now, that being said, how do you really make that happen? It's a first call. When I know I'm going to start on a show, I pick up the phone. I have a crew list. I pick up the phone and call that casting director or email that casting director and say, hey, have you started on this? Sometimes they've seen the script before I have. Hey, what's my script about?
Or what big parts are we going to cast?
Or what, exactly. And the moment that you make them your partner and tell them you value what they're going to do and tell them you want to be part of this process, I'll say, yeah, I'm leaving for location, but I'll come in a week before I even start on that show if we can have a casting call, a casting session with you guys. So I'm the one who is very, very proactive in making sure I get to casting. You get done what you can at the office during the prep day, and then when it's not done, you spend your evenings and weekends filling in that time. Mm-hmm. So by the time the show starts on the first day of shoot, you're exhausted, but
mentally,
but you're completely confident, because if you've done all that, you're prepared, and I think it's the easiest thing to do is to go on set that first day and go, I know what I want. It would be terrifying.
Awful.
To not know what you want.
I can't do it that way.
No.
I have never in my life, never stepped on a set not having prepared the scene, not having prepared the entire script before the first day of shooting. Sometimes, just on my last show, the prep was so busy and there was so much scouting and so much stuff. For the tech scout, all I could get ready was the tech scout stuff. And that was on a Thursday. And then the production meeting was on Friday, and I felt not as prepared as I would have liked, but I had the weekend before beginning shooting on Monday. So beginning shooting on Monday, the entire script was prepped. Sometimes you have to do it in pieces like that, depending on how much time you have, but you have to do it. Well, you can't tell the story if you don't understand the story. How do you understand the story? By diving deep into it, by thinking every possible thing, answering every question, but it all comes down to, what does this character need to achieve? What does this character need to achieve in this scene? And where does it fit in the whole?
And also remember, they're puzzle pieces and they have to fit together. So if you're trying to design transitions,
Yeah.
you have to know how one scene ends and one begins. If you're ending an act, you know there has to be an act out. If you are doing an act in, you know it has to be a special shot that brings the audience back into the story.
Yep. The most important thing is the first read of the script, because when the first time you read it cold, as a creative person, you are imagining it in your head, and everything you do after that is meant to make that imagination come to pass, to make it be real. So you see it on that first read. Every read after that is going to be repetitive in some way. So you have to honor what your creative inspiration was of that moment. It might be, you don't know what the sets are going to be, you don't know what the locations are going to be, but what you're imagining is what the intent of the scene is. And that's what you want to try to achieve in every other decision that you make. And so, honestly, truly, I'm probably not aware of that in terms of shots on that first read, just intent. Then as I begin to break every scene down, each scene by each scene by each scene, I'm imagining it again. Maybe now I know what the location looks like or what the set looks like, and sort of rewind it in my head. And also now I know what the story is, so I know from a psychological point of view, where do those characters want to be in that space? What do they want to be doing? How close do they want to be? How far away do they want to be from each other? Is this a scene about a power struggle? Is this a scene about someone achieving something very solid? So then I start seeing it, and you begin at the beginning. Okay, what's the first thing that happens? This person comes in. Where's the door? Okay, that's a place to start. And then I keep imagining, and then I look at that picture in my head and go, well, what is that? What is that shot? How can I describe that shot? And ultimately end up with the shot list that is in shooting order, which is in lighting order, which is not editing order. So there's a lot of processes to go through. Then when I'm shooting, the whole time I'm cutting in my head. I'm going to use this close-up, and I need the close-up opposite it. Or there's a transition that I didn't see, so I need to get this shot that I hadn't necessarily planned on. Because that's what our end product is the edited version of this scene. So what I like about that is that it keeps me very present. I'm in the scene as I'm shooting it, every single shot. Do I have it? Do I have it? Do I have it? Do I have it? Yes, that completes the scene. It depends on the situation. It depends on how many actors are in there. It depends on whether it's a stunt or not. I basically shot list for the A camera. I will indicate what the B camera shot is. Knowing that there's a C and D camera, I figure we'll pick up extra pieces of coverage, and I'll figure that out on the day with the DP. Knowing that I have 3 cameras or 4 cameras allows me to just know that I'll get it all, because I know the blocking and I know where the A camera is going. And the B camera is usually getting either a 90-degree off angle, like profile, or a tighter shot next to the A camera or something like that.
And you also don't know where that third, fourth, fifth, and possibly sixth camera can be hidden, so they're not seen by other two until you're right there on the day. So I know what my A and B camera are doing, and then again you're picking up the other 3.
And it also has to do with lighting, what the DP is capable of lighting. But you can pretty much assume that you're looking 180 degrees, but not 360, because you would see the other cameras or whatever.
And if you're doing a 360, you're only doing 1 camera at a time.
Exactly. Unless you can hide a camera behind something.
Yeah.
You can get tricky. The basic thing is you know what your blocking is, and you know how you're covering it, and you know what your opening shot is, and you know what your ending shot is. And most importantly for me, I know what my first cut is out of the first shot. Because when you know what your first cut is, the pattern of the editing just falls into place. You just will have to try it to believe me, because it's hard to explain, but it's true. On the word where you anticipate cutting out of your opening shot.
It's the first thing she taught me, and one of the most valuable to this day.
Yay!